Good afternoon, I am Adventure Argonaut. This is the Golden News. And we will be discussing the news from the past week. But first, of course, let's see, confirm that my streams are all up and running. Yes, they all seem very functional right now. So let's just go and move on to the news. So the first topic is aliens. The US government is unsealing some UFO files and stuff like that. And, people aren't that excited. And yeah, neither am I, except, there's one story that, maybe you got some spoilers there already. That's more, people find more interesting than the, UFOs and aliens or suggestions of that. So yeah, the United States government has unsealed the first wave of UFO files now available for public viewing. And some, evangelical pastors were supposedly, given some private briefing to prepare for people, because it's gonna shake the faith of some people in the Bible and stuff. So notice how only evangelical pastors are reporting on this. They know Catholics can't fall for this nonsense. Yeah, and also people have pointed out it's so far, they only mentioned that how it's going to affect Christians, not Muslims or Buddhists, or like, okay, for Buddhists, their, I guess, cosmology is more open, but like, surely there are other religions that would find, let's say that somebody claims that there are actual aliens coming from distant planets that evolved there or something on their own and like millions of years ago and come to Earth, and it's like, okay, I'm not buying it. Like, especially if the U.S. government or any UN, United Nations or anything like that is claiming that, like, nope, I'm not buying it. But perhaps there is more to it, and certainly there have been like UFO sightings even before the modern age, before because you could argue that many UFOs are actually just some hidden black ops technology that officially don't exist, but they're more advanced and stuff. But like there's like some, I don't remember the name, Urochibufune from Japan from like 200 years ago, or the Battle of Nuremberg in Germany like 500 years ago. There's the painting of supposedly a UFO fight in the sky, and there are, and fairies and stuff, they're related. Read Journey to Magonia from Jacques Vallée. So it's not like I'm saying all of it is necessarily fake, but certainly the story that the government will be giving will be fake. And so fast-moving glowing orb flies near wind turbines, UFO files. What is it looking? Studying in renewable energy. Well, do they actually generate energy, these windmills? I can't really see anything here. Whatever. So, and there's this. This is the one that most people are interested in. So this six-pointed star thingy. The UFO files show unsettling footage of 8-pointed. Did I say six-pointed? 8-pointed star with arms of alternating length. Evangelion reference or an unknown form of life science has yet to name. And the new Pentagon star-like UFO footage debunked objects just diffraction spikes from drone lens. Video has been public at least 2 years already.
This still.
Okay, so it's already been public before, so it's not even from the files. And yeah, lots of people are comparing it to the, was it Ezekiel's wheels within wheels, alien, UFO angel, that from the Bible. Oh, here it says, Ophanim described as multi-eyed angels in Dead Sea Scrolls. But I don't think, like, that's, of course, commonly associated between, angels and UFOs. Like, it's nothing new, but I don't really see this as that thing. Like, sure, there's some slight resemblance, but it's still assumption. assuming that this is anything strange to begin with. But this is, I guess, at least interesting. Some ancient Sumerian star with 8 points. I think it's Shamash or something. But this is the truth. It's the chaos symbol from, like, Warhammer 40K or Warhammer in general. So that's it. Chaos is attacking Earth, subverting us. Although it was created by my mind is blank. Who's the author's name? The guy who created Elric. Stormbringer. He created that chaos symbol as well, I think. And GW just sort of stole it from him. Anyway, White House said presidential unsealing for UAP encounter. So UAP is like the politically correct version for UFO. Per President Trump's directive, the Department of War has declassified and released unresolved UAP records. This is an unprecedented level of transparency. No other admin has gone this far. Well, I guess that's true, but it doesn't mean that this is still like a great degree of transparency or anything. So files now live on war.gov/UFO. So it's still UFO, even there's UAP here. Like, stick to one term. Additional files will be released by the Department of War on a rolling basis. And somebody said it's like Netflix episode release, but I don't know. I don't watch Netflix. And Adam here has a good point. We are raping and eating children, and we are looting all your wealth from under your nose. But hey, look, a shape in the sky. Yeah, because it looks like a floating potato or something. Yeah, like, of course, this might be something like I'm not denying that some of these UFOs might represent something that's some sort of craft or entities that might conflict with our conventional understanding of physics and all that stuff. But the government isn't going to tell us the truth. FBI files reveal reports of 4-foot tall beings emerging from UFOs. Are they hobbits, space hobbits? The referenced FBI memo described reports of 4-foot tall beings is from October 1966 and has been publicly available via FOIA for years. So it's not that transparent or anything if it's been out for years already. And UFO files revealed jaw-dropping claim of a secret flying saucer capable of reaching 1,500 miles per hour built by the Nazis. Some people say that this is one of the more credible claims, and I tend to agree because they had like their Haunebu and Die Glocke or whatever, and supposedly Neuschwabenland in the Antarctic. And I've seen this picture being showed around, and this is from the files. It's obviously fake. Like, of course, I don't know if it's meant to be, to be sold as a photograph or anything, but it's obviously quite fake. Like, maybe it's just a eyewitness account, an artist's rendition of it or something. Yeah, this thing, but looks so, fake. Newly declassified FBI documents suggest Nazi Germany secretly developed saucer-shaped aircraft capable of hovering in the air. Don't we sort of know that already? Like, is that bombshell or anything new? Of course, like, it's questionable how far they could hover, how well, and how maneuverable they were. South Korea investigating cargo ships struck by an unidentified flying objects in the Strait of Hormuz. So this is probably just, more relating to the Iran war that is sort of on hold, but not completely right now. But I guess they're trying to tie it into this UFO thing to make it seem more mysterious. But, it's probably some sort of drones. And So FBI Director Kash Patel confirms UFO files have been delivered for release. Religious leaders told to prepare now for UFO disclosure to unleash Bible-changing revolution. Yeah, why only Bible-changing? And some people said that no, they wouldn't actually, like, if aliens from other planets exist and come here, like, they wouldn't shake people's faith in the Bible. But yeah, it does. Like, even the existence of space as modern science tells it, it's in conflict with what the Bible says. Like, it's not clear, like, but the Bible says there's the firmament and then the waters above. It's not clear what it is, but it's clearly different to how we understand space. And I'm not saying that either of these explanations is necessarily wrong or correct, even though, like, I certainly have my doubts about the way that um, modern science explains space. Like, I'm not saying it's all fake, because some flat earthers say that space is fake, and I think that's one of the dumbest things they can say, because it just makes you think like, oh, okay, I shouldn't look into it then. But it may not be what we are told, but there's something up there. Anyways, pastors across the United States are now stepping forward, revealing they were briefed in secret meeting with government officials about how to reveal the existence of aliens to their congregation. Yeah, yeah. So what this guy says, I wish to be clear about this. Paul said that if anyone comes to you declaring another gospel, including angels, to ignore it. That includes aliens. And if aliens were real, do you think for a second anyone's reaction would be, how will the Christians take this? The world spends literally all day telling us that six-day creation is false because of evolution. No one consults pastors to see how we like that. They tell us Christians are wrong about babies in the womb. They don't worry about our feelings on that. They tell us we're evil, bigoted, backwards, etc. all day. But aliens are suddenly here, and their first reaction is to call the church. The Bible already describes a creature there that's not human, isn't from Earth, and hates humans and the Creator already. I think he has a point. Like, of course, a lot of people on Twitter and stuff are saying like, nah, I don't think they're aliens, they're demons, and I think there's a good point that there's something to that. But of course, it's good to look at it from another angle as well. Like, don't get too caught up in a certain narrative, um, because it's possible they're extraterrestrials or interdimensionals or demons or perhaps all of the above, or maybe they're cryptoterrestrials from within the earth, or maybe there's like there's a continent that we don't normally know about, that it's been suppressed from us, like Admiral Byrd during Operation High Jump, he said that there's like a whole continent somewhere there in the Antarctic with lots of resources and stuff. So who knows whether there are some intelligent creatures who've been living there for millennia, and for whatever reason that knowledge is suppressed from us, whether they're good or evil or neutral, I can't say. Or like, who knows whether they're from the hollow earth. So there are many different ways of looking at it. So it's not good. Like, it didn't even J.D. Vance sort of said that, oh, maybe they are interdimensional creatures or demons or whatever term he used about the aliens, a bit before these files were released. So it's like, just be careful not to fall too much into certain narrative. So if they're using aliens to distract us from the Epstein files, is this technically Alien versus Predator? Yes. You're telling me the aliens were Epstein clients. So Alien versus Predator with a gray alien and Epstein there. Yes. And UFO. So a UFO about the White House release Epstein files. Yeah. Like, ultimately, these are a distraction. Like, this is still the biggest, like, undeniable political issue of the recent years, especially, like, the Epstein files that sort of confirm what some of us already knew, that that are, elected officials are pedos controlled by Israel and other agencies via blackmail and stuff. And that's, they have to be brought to justice and taken care of and put in an oubliette. The CIA found a temple under Sphinx in 1950 in recent declassified docs. So I don't know if this documentary is from the UFO files or not. But here it says 15 temple under Sphinx, July 50. So I don't know, like, is it what was in the temple? What is it something that we don't? Well, supposedly everybody's finding something under the Sphinx, or there's a prophecy of somebody eventually finding under the Sphinx. So I don't know what to make of it. So yeah, but yeah, this is the most interesting part. So according to the recent released UFO files on January 12th, 1994, a Catgirl entity was encountered by U.S. Army Reconnaissance Patrol at the Nevada Test and Training Range. The Catgirl called herself N7, stated she was not from this world, and assured the soldiers she meant no harm. She's described as having a gray silver eyes, silver blonde hair, no observable body hair, but okay, but she has hair, but okay, the difference between hair on your head. In English, like in Finnish, there's a difference between hair on your head and body hair, but whatever. With cat ears and a tail. She was detained for a short time and medically examined. Yeah, I'd like to do a medical examination too. Where it was discovered she had no internal reproductive organs detected with ultrasound blood analysis showing unknown biochemistry, and her DNA did not match any terrestrial being. But yeah, 1995. I was like, wait, is this in the 60s? They didn't know about DNA, but okay, 90s, yeah, okay. N7 was then released back into the desert where they found her, presumably to return to the world of catgirls until humanity can get their act together. Okay, I'm not gonna try to read all that. That's so freaking small. But you can pause and squint if you want. But yeah, something like this. I'd welcome our cat girl overlords. I want to believe. The aliens are 5'4", whatever that means in like centimeters, and 49 kilograms. Kilogram cat girls. I have to go. So bipedal female form, humanoid with feline characteristics, including external ear appendages and caudal appendage. So does that mean tail? The entity exhibited intelligence, communicated in English. I want my cat girls to speak Japanese, and displayed non-hostile behavior. And a little bit of hostile behavior is good. The entity was temporarily detained, medically examined, and later released at approximately blah blah blah. Okay. So yeah, gender female, estimated age 20 to 25 Earth years. See, eyes gray silver, hair silver blonde, feline ear appendage, feline caudal appendage. Enhanced agility and balance, no observable body hair. So wait, did they examine her naked or something, or was she wearing a suit like this? That's the important bit about this. Like, this should be enough. Like, if the American people won't do a revolution or revolt or anything because of the Epstein files and plenty of other stuff, or the wars for Israel or anything, they should do it to gain more knowledge about these cat girls, where to find more of them, and what they are, and all that stuff. I think that would be worth it, at least. If not for moral purposes, it's for the cat girls then. All right, but let's see. It's about time to move on to the next topic, which is, let's see, let's press the button. It's Hanta virus, from cats to rats, because it's, they're trying to sort of meekly trying to push another pandemic, but yeah, people are even less enthused about this than the alien files. But yeah, let's see what BS we have here. So HOW's or WHO's Maria van Kerkhove on hantavirus. This is not coronavirus. This is a very different virus. This is not the start of a COVID pandemic. Yeah, not a COVID, but a Hanta pandemic, which is even more fake and gay. Anagrams remain undefeated. Hantavirus cannot be spread human to human. It's spread by rodent piss. We are being lied to. Pass it on. Hey, maybe lots of people started just drinking rat piss. My brain is fried today. I went outside today and it was hot, so that's my excuse. But anyway, hantavirus and anagram is apparently rat anus HIV. Makes sense. And there's this. So supposedly this guy posted this on June 11th, 2022. So 2023. So that was before Corona ended. He said Corona ended and 2026 hantavirus. Of course, hantavirus also is not something that's invented for this year. Like I recall hearing, hey, Agent Doberhorns, yes, it is that time of the week. Welcome. Time to say welcome. So yeah, hantavirus is, I recall probably hearing the term already as a kid at some point. It's like, okay, some weird virus, whatever. And you'll never guess who has been working on an mRNA hantavirus vaccine. Moderna and Korea University to develop hantavirus vaccine. So Moderna said Friday it has entered into full-scale collaboration with Vaccine Innovation Center at Korea University College of Medicine to develop an mRNA messenger ribonucleic acid-based hantavirus vaccine. So this is published in 2024. So it's like 2 years ago. Interesting. Hey, at least now they started it, not they didn't have the virus, I mean the vaccine ready like 2 weeks after the pandemic came out. Well, it wasn't, but didn't they like I don't remember exactly when they said that they were working, like these different companies were supposedly working just coincidentally soon after the pandemic started on a coronavirus vaccine, but whatever. So hantavirus panic campaign already looks pre-planned. So let's get it straight. In 2024, Moderna quietly partners with Korea University of an mRNA-based hantavirus vaccine, and buried in the research network tied to these global health initiatives is none other than Peter Hotez and long-time global pandemic players connected to the Right Fund and neglected disease programs. Now suddenly the media starts whispering about hantavirus threats again. Same script, same players, same fear cycle. So 1, identify a future threat. 2, build vaccine platform first. 3, flood the media with panic headlines. 4, roll out emergency measures. 5, cash in on public fear. And remember, hantavirus has existed for decades, but now the mRNA machine is suddenly interested. People are waking up to the pattern. Problem, panic, pharmaceutical product. The real question is, how long have they been preparing this narrative before the public ever heard a word about it? I should point out that it's not just the elites, quote unquote, behind this, but part of the reason why the corona crap was what it was because many of the NPCs went along with it. Like, sure, most of us did. Like, we didn't see through the BS immediately and stuff, but some people are incapable. Like, there's difference between being deceived, like the thing that George W. Bush couldn't say, like fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. Like, but some of these freaking NPCs, they cannot recognize, it doesn't even enter into their brains if they have any, that perhaps the authorities could be fooling us and screwing with us, and perhaps we shouldn't listen to them. Maybe it's better to listen to the random schizos on the internet because they actually know more and care more about what is correct and right. Anyway, the lung and blood vessel infection that kills you when infected with hantavirus is listed as a side effect of the COVID-19 vaccine. So that's interesting. Want to know what's absolutely batshit insane? Hantavirus is listed as a reported possible adverse event after getting the Pfizer COVID jab. No, I'm not joking. So here, yeah, hantavirus pulmonary infection. Cumulative analysis of post-authorization adverse event report. So I guess I'm gonna assume this is from the coronavirus stuff. Wait, exposure to SARS-CoV-2. So yeah, the side effect of corona is to be exposed to corona or something, COVID. I guess, yeah, this has part of that virus in it. Assuming that viruses even exist, that's another question that nobody's been able to answer like satisfactorily. I've been asking that question for like almost 20 years. Like, do viruses actually exist? But like, neither the people who say no, they don't exist, or who say that yes, they do exist, neither has been given a satisfactory answer for my, simple brain. Let me guess, at 3:33 p.m. on the third day of the third month, there were 33 cases. They docked at pure number 33. Comprehend or don't get sucked in. I don't think it's that many threes or 33s, but yeah, the 33-day Atlantic Odyssey that turned into a hantavirus nightmare. The last outbreak was 33 years ago with 33 confirmed cases. Okay, of hantavirus. Interesting, because 33 is a number associated with the 33rd degree of Freemasonry. So that's why some people say that, when you see news articles with those numbers, you should be a bit sus that they're signaling something. And two people who have been on board the hantavirus infected MV Hondius ship have movement points, have reportedly returned to Britain. So they're just doing this purposely to spread it everywhere. Yeah, I guess. And here, why are they removing people from the hantavirus cruise ship? Why not quarantine the ship? Why bring them back? Well, here somebody said most hantavirus strains don't transmit person to person at all. The strain does, but only through very close prolonged contact. It's not airborne threat like the flu. So what is this guy suggesting then? Like, because if most hantaviruses don't transmit person to person, why are we worried about it? But okay, if this strain does, uh, uh, you can contract it person to person, then shouldn't they be quarantined? Like, sure, it says like prolonged contact, but like, isn't he gonna have prolonged contact with somebody in the hospital at least? Are they gonna let his family members, like, assuming that this is a serious and real virus that we should be worried about? Yeah, it's a bit sus. And who the fuck is this guy? Some NPC. And then this is interesting, the meaning of the word Hanta. Hey, Grok, what's the Hebrew slang for Hanta? In Hebrew slang, Hanta, pronounced Hanta, Hanta means a scam, fraud, nonsense, lie, or something fake. Basically calling BS like that's full of crap. So it's the BS virus, basically. It's often used to dismiss a story as bogus. Very interesting. I wonder if the Israelis are gonna get vaccinated against the Hanta virus. Okay, this is just the same thing. And also in Hungarian too, did you know that in the Hungarian language, Hanta means nonsense or bullshit or empty talk? So yeah, just don't let the NPCs drag us into another pandemic, quote unquote, because that's what they want. Like, that's what the NPC is, the noosphere sphere of the NPCs. They want all of this Orwellian stuff even more than there are pedophile elites. That's my theory. Like, social credit. I think that's been in the works of their ewige NPC for thousands of years. Like, they've wanted that sort of control system so they can sort of compete like who gets to be on top in that control system, and now they finally have the technology. But all right, then we go to UK, and Keir Starmer, or Queer Stormer, as I like to call him, might be resigning. It's not uh, like 100% verified yet, but there was some election, and what was Labour did very badly, and so on. So that's good news. But it's like 75 steps backwards and 2 steps forward, basically how this democracies work. So this is interesting. Keir Starmer has resigned, but this is from 2016, so 10 years ago. So this is a recycled 2016 headline. Keir Starmer resigned as shadow home office minister on 27 June 2016 as part of a wave of Labour shadow cabinet resignations protesting Jeremy Corbyn's leadership after the Brexit referendum. It's not recent news, so yeah, this is not recent news, but he seems to be maybe resigning, even though he was adamant that he won't, but now there's some news sources saying he might. Furious Starmer was not told local elections had taken place yesterday, so I think it was in Wales or something. Like he wanted to suspend the local elections, and they did it, at least according to this guy, without his permission, which, if this is true, that's quite hilarious. The PM claims civil servants kept him in the dark until this morning. He has ordered an inquiry into why the elections had gone ahead without his knowledge. I thought we'd cancelled them. Cancel culture isn't real, dudes. Well, yeah, if he failed to cancel them. So UK PM Keir Starmer has lost over 1,303 council seats. His Labour Party has lost Wales for the first time in 100 years. Cool. Nigel Farage's resumed search over 1,400 seats. Well, that's not good, because Nigel Farage is just another kosher choice. People are furious. Take your country back. Yeah, also from Farage. Not even 24 hours after Keir Starmer says he'll be Prime Minister for the next 8 years, Labour sources are saying that he will resign this week. Buckle up, this vile traitor is about to be dragged out of number 10 in disgrace. This is going to be wonderful. No, it's like, if they're really gonna, you know, solidify that should be punished, they should put him in an oubliette, or gallows, or something like that, whatever is the British custom. Like, just having to resign, that's just how British politics has been for the last few years, that their PM stays for a few months or a few years and then resigns in shame. Like, when's the last one who didn't do that? I will not resign, spoken like a true dictator. Well, no, a dictator wouldn't really have to say that. See, I hate that these historical terms are being like dummy-defied for modernity. Rupert Lowe's candidates have won all 10 out of 10 contested councils in Norfolk by massive margins. Revolution is coming. So this is at least a better option, restore to reform, in my opinion, but still don't know whether, because, well, Rupert Lowe, supposedly he would ban both halal and kosher torture or butchering of animals. So, I agree with that message. Get rid of both halal and kosher, not just one. And this guy won, by the way. So this is official reform policy. So this guy said, Derek Bullock, shoot the Pakistanis on spot. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this word as it is written on a streaming platform, which, since that's the rules are often retarded. But yeah, I appreciate that, if this sort of, let's say, direct language, if it's praised by the people, like, call a spade or something. And this guy, he said this and one. I think it's fair to say the era of being scared of racism accusations is over forever. Yes. Also, I noticed the star here and the last name. So also, you shouldn't be afraid of being called anti-Semitic. So Glenn Gibbons said, "Can't believe the amount of Nigerians in town. Should melt them all down and fill the potholes." So, okay, I can't condone this message. I don't think Nigerians would make many like good like asphalt for potholes or anything like that. It's probably not very long-lasting solution. So Reform UK has suspended one of its newly elected councillors after they suggested melting down Nigerians to fill potholes. But the community note says Darren Grimes told the BBC that Reform UK has suspended Glenn Gibbons following the emergence of this post. However, a Reform UK spokesman has since said no suspension has taken place and the investigation remains ongoing. Okay, I guess it's good if the investigation just means like, yeah, we are looking into it. But if this guy was democratically elected, they should, of course, respect the will of the people or whatever. But this guy apparently didn't get elected, so it's some I don't know, top of Renisviro from Levisham. And for people who don't know how absurd this is, Topo's official election picture is a screenshot of him in some Cape Shit movie. He was also one of the musicians in the cantina in the original Star Wars. Mos Eisley to Levisham. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I might vote for him if I lived in Levisham. But yeah, I heard he didn't win. Okay, and then Glenn Gibbons stuff. Reform UK sources message GB Politics saying that has still yet to be suspended, and Darren Grimes was misquoted by the BBC. Okay, whatever. Yeah. But anyone else noticed the book Rupert is reading? Cromwell, the father of democracy, who welcomed in the Jews. So yeah, it wasn't like Cromwell. He stayed in power for 2 years, but during that time he let back in the Jews to UK, and since then they've held on. And I've heard elsewhere that Cromwell is Rupert Lowe's favorite historical figure or something, or British leader or whatever the exact title was. So that's a bit concerning, a bit problematic, you might say. But let's go to other news. Let's see. What do we have here? The next one is some Epstein and Epstein related business here. Just a few PDF file news and stuff like that. So US Customs and Border Protection boarded 5 cruise ships, including a Disney cruise docked in San Diego between April 23 and 25 as part of ongoing child sexual exploitation material CSEM enforcement operations. A CBP spokesperson told the California Post. So Disney cruise ship staffers among 28 arrested in massive child porn operations. See, that none of that surprises me. Like if you told me this headline like 30 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been surprised. I instinctively knew that the Disney company was evil already as a kid, decades before anybody uttered the term woke in the same context that we use it today. Benjamin Netanyahu's former personal security guard has been caught in an undercover sting operation, sending sexually explicit messages to an undercover detective posing as a teenage boy. You were involved in security for the Israeli leader Netanyahu. You had multiple chances not to commit this crime, but you did anyways. Okay. So wait, is this the catch a predator guy? Chris Hansen. I've never seen the show or anything, but I've heard, so I don't know. Or is it a random cop? But yeah, what a surprise that, assuming that the allegations are correct, that Netanyahu's bodyguard might do something like that. I'm shocked. Two foreign girls, children strangled to death during rough fetish sex, buried on orders from Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell at Zorro Ranch. This isn't a rumor, it's in the files. An insider email with video evidence offered. They didn't just traffic kids, they murdered them. And the elite who partied there still walking free, still protected, still in power. How many more graves? How many names are redacted? The client list, the flights, the islands, the ranches. This is a global blackmail and murder operation wearing a suit and tie. They need to pay all of them. No more sealed files, no more suicides, quote unquote, no more protection. Drop the full unredacted Epstein files now. Share this if you want justice for the children they killed. This isn't over. So, Edward, this is sensitive, so it will be the first and last email depending on your discretion. You can choose to take it or trash it, but this comes from a person that has been there and seen it all. As a former staff at the Zorro, the material below was taken from Jeffrey Epstein's home as my insurance in case of future litigation against Epstein. Sorry, no questions. What is damning about Jeffrey Epstein is yet to be written. Did you know somewhere in the hills outside the Zorro, two foreign girls were buried on orders of Jeffrey Epstein and Madame G. Both died by strangulation during rough fetish sex. Here are the video footage of Jeffrey Epstein. So link truncated, blah blah. So sex with video with minor, threesomes, underage girl sex video, underage girl, Matthew Mellon video. I don't know who that guy is. Underage girl rape fantasy video. Girl from Bay Area suicide attempt confession to Madam G. Please arrange for 1 Bitcoin by 6 p.m. EDT today, Thursday. Okay. Eddie Dragon. Doesn't sound like a legit name, but yeah, okay. So, of course, it's possible this is a fake, blackmail email, but would be really nice for like, if that's the case, that the FBI genuinely investigated this and found out that, yeah, it's fake. I think, if the Trump administration wants transparency and all that stuff and justice, they should explain some of these things, because it does look bad if this email is legit and it's not something made by Noah B. Price. If this is from the Epstein files. Yeah. People have to learn how to build oubliettes again. MAGA evangelical leaders gather in Mar-a-Lago to bless and dedicate a gold statue dedicated to Donald Trump. So apparently, like, first time I saw, like, first couple of times, I couldn't really, my brain couldn't get or process it. I sort of thought it's like AI, it's fake, but apparently it's real. A beautiful piece of art, a Hasidic Jews behind Florida's giant golden Trump statue. And yeah, here people are very aptly comparing it to the golden calf. Yeah. MAGA. Yeah, being milked by Netanyahu. Well, I think usually Trump does the milking of Netanyahu, if you catch my drift. But yeah, let's move on to other stuff, other business. Let's go to Japan. And recently there have been some Shinto shrines burning up, and I think there's probably some other Japan news mixed in here. There's a few tabs here, like a dozen. All right, have they loaded in? Yes, they have. All right, let's go have a look. In 2026, there have been numerous Japanese shrine and / temple fires. Fukuoka, yeah, I'm not gonna read the dates. It's too complicated. Fukuoka Sue Shrine or Sue Shrine Ehime, Horenji, Ehime, Hotoji, Yamaguchi, Shorinji, Toyama, Renshoji, Mie, Uruwashi, Chune Shrine, and Niigata, Furumachi, Adaga Shrine. So wait, how many is that? That's 7, right? Yes. 7 already. Ah, yeah, here's why. Yeah, it's coincidental that, bunch of Islamists are coming. And of course, when you mentioned that, now they're trying to Islamify Japan, like Europe has been Islamified already somewhat. Like, it's not the Muslims the mastermind behind it. They're just basically mercenaries or something used by other agencies. In just a few weeks, dozens of shrines mysteriously caught fire in Japan. Anti-Shintoism is on the rise. Do you know who is responsible? And also, I should point out there are some Christians who are fine with this because they have no sympathy for you know Shintoism because it's pagan. So why should anybody who is not Christian have sympathy for Christians when their churches get burned? Except like many of their churches are really also aesthetically pleasing buildings. So in that sense, yeah, culturally significant. But and hashtag not all Christians, but hashtag some Christians. Same goes for Muslims. Hashtag not all Muslims explode or whatever, but hashtag some Muslims do, or form grooming gangs and so forth. The Atago Shrine in Chuo Ward, Niigata Prefecture, an historic Shinto shrine which has stood for over 300 years, has caught fire. Many Japanese online believers believe it to be an arson attack and comparing it to the church fires across Europe. Yeah, it's, a bit coincidental that if these are not arson or something like that. And Japan, thousands gathered to protest the construction of the first mosque in Fujisawa. The proposed mosque would be much larger than the nearby Shinto shrine, an act of provocation. We don't want a single mosque or Muslim cemetery here. Yeah. It's good that if the Japanese have balls to, do something about it. A chart showing a direct correlation between Shinto shrine and Buddhist temple fires with the rise of mosques. It isn't a coincidence. So yeah, of course, correlation doesn't equal causation. Yeah, it doesn't, but not inherently, but sometimes it does. Maybe you can even say often it does, but yeah, there have been some fires already, but it's like I guess this is the red is probably fires and the blue are the mosques. So the first mosque was built in the 80s, I guess, and yeah. Yeah, in the like 2000, that's basically when they started. Well, that's when the mosques started going up more rapidly. And Takaichi's LDP party revealed to be a CIA operation to interfere in Japanese politics. It was never a party for the Japanese. It was designed to liquidate Japanese assets and flood them with the millions of street-shitting rapists. Takaichi is a CIA agent trying to drag us into war with China. We are under CIA occupation. So this isn't really revelation because I learned this like over a decade ago in like a university lecture. It was just normal university lecture about Japanese society or politics or whatever, and yeah, they said that the LDP. If I get a bit confused with the Japanese political parties, but the party that has been in charge of Japanese politics pretty much ever since the 40s or 50s, like they were created by the CIA. Like, that was something that was told by the professor in a university. So that's not like nothing esoteric or anything. But of course, doesn't mean that it isn't relevant information. And also, Japan government claims Epstein files don't concern Japan. This is also something that was already, this statement was made probably a couple of months ago already. They will completely halt investigations despite multiple government officials' names being mentioned. Pedo protectors rule Japan. Yes. It does concern Japan, especially when Jeffrey Epstein helped Hikaru Utada get an Emmy contract or EMI contract for her 13th birthday back in 1996. Interesting. I don't know where what the source is for this claim, but like wasn't it Utada Hikaru just recently, like a few weeks ago, I reported that she doesn't identify as woman anymore. Now she identifies as non-binary, and how coincidental if she is, one of Epstein's puppets, that she's pushing that sort of agenda. The samurai are assembling to defeat the globalists once and for all. So on 8th, okay, that was already like a few days ago, 8th of this month at 1 o'clock in wherever this is. Not quite sure where it is. Where's the some park somewhere. Anyway, so they can do this because Japan is an ethno-state. They can see who are Japanese and who are the invaders. Now you understand why the melting pot was pushed on us by the grabblers. Grabbler, interesting term. And Japan has succeeded in producing oil from water and carbon dioxide. I think also, this news came out a few weeks ago or months ago, but like, and I think some people are saying like, it's not it's not worth it, that it consumes much more energy to do that and stuff. But of course, if they can perfect it, then it might threaten the oil companies and stuff in some way. So I wonder how that's going to affect things. Is something, are they going to find weapons of mass destruction in Japan, or what's going to happen? And within a few days, Japanese scientists found dead, most likely from suicide. Yeah. And scientists confirm Earth has an eighth continent and it's mostly underwater. So I don't know where this source came from, but yeah, I've been looking at it, the map before. And so this is Zealandia. I don't know why it's called that, or Zealandia. But why is it this? Like, why not this part as well? Like, I especially know that this, like, is obvious, this part of some same continent, at least based on these maps. So why is this part excluded from that continent? And I wonder how that, like, where's Okinawa? Is like here? Is it part of the continent? Because there's the Yonagunijima, the the underwater pyramids there. Is the official line gonna change on those? Because officially they're just nature shaped those pyramids underwater. But many people disagree, me being one of them. But whatever, let's move on. Let's leave Japan for now and go, where are we going next? Let's see. Let's just put all of those here for now. And go to Europe, because there's not many Euro news, or outside of course the Starmer stuff earlier, but EU might be banning VPNs according to somebody. Not sure whether how reliable that stuff is, but let's have a look. So European Parliament Research Service, virtual private networks VPN are increasingly used to bypass online age verification. Protecting children is a priority, with new rules being implemented requiring a minimum age for access to some devices. And somebody says they are going to ban VPNs as many times, which is sort of annoying. According to the university, so this is community notes, according to the University of Michigan research paper, Multi-Perspective Study of VPN Users and VPN Providers, 82.1% used VPNs to protect myself from various threats adversaries. No research shows that VPNs would be increasingly used to bypass online age verification. So supposedly EU is flying here about the VPN stuff. But it's like Europeans deserve this dystopian bullshit if they don't do anything. Like Europeans were able to execute their criminals and build oubliettes and put people in them. Like, what changed? Why can't Europeans do that anymore? I'm pissed as a European myself. France's intelligence delegation wants to add ghost participants to encrypted chats, silent, invisible state agents added to your private conversations without your knowledge. This idea was floated in 2018. Every credible security researcher rejected it. Now it's back. He's back, the man behind the mask. Yeah, more dystopian shit from Europe. And there's this. This is not AI, this is the newly inaugurated government of Hungary. The first thing they did was raise the EU flag over the Hungarian parliament. So yeah, the new president is some very Israel friendly guy, and I think somebody said that's the minister of health or something. And I don't know what to say, but yeah, they're basically celebrating that Hungary, who has been supposedly at least more based than most European nations, that they're gonna start the steady decline very soon. That's how it looks like to me. But let's move on from Europe. Yes, okay. Then let's go talk about Fuentes drama, Dan Bilzerian, Fuentes, Nick Fuentes, that sort of stuff, you know. All right, so first there's Lucas Gage, who was anti-Semite, and now he's repented. And I'm not quite sure if this is like a sort of meme or a joke, or if this actual news. But I think it already says something that it's not obvious whether this is a meme or not. So Lucas Gage sat down with the world-renowned wise sage and Kabbalist master Rabbi Yoshiyahu Pinto to apologize for his past abhorrent and delusional anti-Semitism and promise he would do anything necessary to receive true atonement. After publicly walking away from the toxic JQ movement earlier this year, Lucas Gage, why do I say okay, whatever, has continued his remarkable personal evolution. Gage took the next step in his journey to Teshuvah by seeking out one of the most respected spiritual leaders in the Jewish world. In a private meeting, Gage looked at the revered Kabbalist in the eyes and expressed genuine remorse for the pain his earlier rhetoric has caused. He asked for guidance on how to make genuine amends. Rabbi Pinto, known worldwide for his profound wisdom, compassion, and ability to guide even the most lost souls toward light, listened with patience and depth only the true sage possesses. Sources close to the meeting describe Gates as a sincere, open, and fully committed to change, willing to take whatever steps the rabbi recommends to heal the damage and become force for good. Gage reportedly told Rabbi, "This is the beginning of true healing for me, for those I hurt, and for the bridges I am now committed to building." So if this was fake, wouldn't there be a community note? He was always a provocateur sent to radicalize groups and attack anyone who not adhering to his purity test, aka he was always Jewish. It's crazy how many people don't realize this is satire. Like, yeah, I still think it might be satire, but it's in all like effects and purposes, it's not. But yeah, it's probably satire. But like, why didn't? Because this isn't as obvious as some satire. Anyway, Dan Bilzerian says, I think Nick Fuentes is a Fed. Constant division, endless infighting, defending Epstein, and attacking a Christian man only to endorse. So that was the guy Putsch in. I don't remember what state, but yeah, I think he lost. Christian man only endorse a Jewish Democrat woman after saying the left ones is dead. Contradictions never end. So yeah, it's obvious. Like whether I don't know whether Fuentes is actually fed like paid by the federales or whatever, literally, but is especially after the he was defending Israel after the death of Charlie Kirk. I called him out like day one, basically, and there was no doubt at that point anymore that he's compromised. Like whether he's working for Mossad or CIA or the FBI or whatever, I can't say, or simply for himself, but he's not genuine. That much was obvious at that point. And Fuentes said this: first time I met Dan Bilzerian at his house, he had us put our phones in another room, then asked me how difficult it would be to assassinate Israeli government ministers. Then he invited me to Dubai and Qatar, which I declined. On his way there, he was ambushed by the FBI. So of course, people are pointing out like either Fuentes is lying here and he's just making shit up, or this is true and he's a rat and he's snitching on Dan Bilzerian, and supposedly uh, part of the same political side or something, but clearly Fuentes would rather side with the Feds and the Israelis and stuff instead of Bilzerian. And just like that, Nick being a Fed snitch seems 10,000 times more plausible, yeah. So what's going on here? So the same comment from Fuentes, and Lucas Gage commented, "Holy fuck, Nick! I swear to God, he did the same thing to me. He walked me and Jake up to that room with a battling cage. We put our phones on the couch and went up to the secluded room with the big TVs. He asked me about where Ben Shapiro lived and how he could be taken out." And Fuentes replies, "This is getting really weird, man. I wonder if anyone else had a similar experience. Seems like this move was to invite all the prominent JQ influencers to his place. 24, 25. Maybe the whole thing was like an Epstein-style honeypot. I just thought he was really dumb." So yeah. And now there's, sides of Dan Bilzerian and Jake Shields, Leonardo Joni. I certainly think they are more credible, but it's of course possible, entirely possible that all of them are controlled opposition. Like personally, I do sort of think that Bilzerian, Joni, Jake Shields, they're at least genuine. Whether they're gonna be competent in whatever political movement they do, I can't say, but at least I have some degree of respect for these people. Like, but of course that can change if otherwise proven, because they are still e-celebrities, and you shouldn't trust e-celebrities much. So Tucker Carlson, Dylan Bilzerian, Jake Shields, Casey Puch all countering Nick this week. Interesting, right? So yeah, if people are trying to paint the others as the feds or whatever control the position, and like I said, it's possible that both sides are, but it's obvious for anybody who's paying attention that Nick Fuentes is certainly controlled and not even opposition at this point. Lucas Gage and Nick Fuentes claimed that during individual meetings with Dan Bilzerian asked Gage how to kill Ben Shapiro and asked Fuentes how to kill Israeli politicians. Both know that Bilzerian asked them to hide their phones, blah, blah, whatever. So Jake Shields says, "I was trying to stay out of this argument, but I was at both of these meetings, and this is a flat-out lie. I don't believe Nick was a Fed and told Dan that, but after seeing this, I changed my mind. Dan is viewed as a threat, so it appears they want to use Nick and Lucas to take him down." And that's possibility. Like if Bilzerian, whatever his true intentions are, if he can unseat Randy Fine, they might consider him a threat. And Alex Jones asks, "If you were the president, what would you do?" Dan Bilzerian, "I would declare war on Israel." So yeah, that's I don't know whether he means it or not, but I can't say I would disagree, or like I would at least if I could tell whether somebody was being genuine, and I knew he was 100 being genuine, and I was American, I would certainly vote for him as a president if he said that. Unless there were two people saying that, and the other one would be even more credible. Was this page doesn't exist? Okay, well, that's been deleted then. It was from Dan Bilzerian. I don't know what that was. And awesome Jew is saying Lucas Gates has just exposed and ratted out Dan Bilzerian. It's interesting, even he is using ratted out, claiming Bilzerian invited him to his home, put his phone away, blah blah blah. So awesome Jew is one of the worst Zionist slop accounts on here, and he's siding with Gates slash Fuentes. That tells you more than all you need to know. Yeah, exactly. Like, look who their friends are or who's supporting them. And here is Fuentes a Jewish surname? Yes, Fuentes has documented Sephardic Jewish origins. Of course, this is just Grok saying that, so take it with a pinch of salt, but I've seen this claim from other sources as well. So, and this guy says, delete your account, Nick J. Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes is essentially the USA's Tommy Robinson, but more isolated and online. And Based Layer says the only difference is Tommy sucks kosher pickle publicly while Nick does it in the dark. Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well. And there's Hyperborean Vanguard says, America first, no thanks, I'm not a reactionary. And this guy, Phoenix Apotheosis, never heard of either of them before. So I love seeing more new accounts get it. This is the only way. I have held the same position since 2021 and knew that eventually we would start seeing this phenomenon emerge. This is the USA is anti-white. American patriotism is an acute form of Stockholm syndrome and a self-hate. Masonic America must be left to rot. Out of its ashes, we must build a new Hyperborean colonies aligned with Europe and a goal of establishing the Fourth Reich. So I'm not saying this is the answer, but I applaud him looking, thinking outside of the box. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, if you want, and as an American, I don't want to go too far in saying how they should run their country, except like, the obvious stuff, like, get yourself out of the clutches of Israel and all that stuff. That's certainly something they should do. But like, yeah, politics, there's much more than, just do you press the blue button or the red button that America has devolved into, or yeah, that we are clearly living at a, age of big upheavals politically and socially and all that stuff. So yeah, I do appreciate, like, people are thinking bigger, and I'm not saying it has to be the Hyperbarian colonies that establish the Fourth Reich. Like, that's somebody's view on it, but like, just sort of don't be afraid to dream. I guess that's my take on it. And of course, you should play with these notions and let it, see where it can germinate into, like, more realistic scenarios to how to change. But yeah, you know I don't think it would be a disaster for Americans if the United States as a political entity would end. Like, it wouldn't necessarily mean be bad for most of the people there. Like, it could be, but it could also start a new golden age or who knows what. Wait, no, not this one yet. So, but anyway, let's move on to Israel, Del and Daest. Israel has to be destroyed, the political entity, because without that happening, there can never be peace and sanity in the world. So, an article that shocked Jews today. The article is from Haaretz. It predicts the end of Israel. The article's title: Netanyahu will leave, but the state will die with him. Article summary: Netanyahu didn't just destroy the state, he destroyed everything. Society is divided, the country is eroding, the army is weak, the judiciary is fearful, and the media is superficial, and the Knesset is unbalanced. There is no solution to the Palestinian issue. The Zionist parties are ruling. Netanyahu caused unprecedented global hatred for Israel. So, this makes Netanyahu actually seem sort of, give me a favorable impression of him. He actually did something good because he showed the rest of the world that a minority of us saw already a few decades ago at least. So there is no longer sympathy for us. Jews have become hated by the world. Netanyahu's exit from power means the fall of Israel. So if this becomes reality and the rats start leaving the sinking ship, I say let's close all the doors, maybe leave them open in Madagascar, and that will be that for the next few centuries at least. Uh, so that's you have to choose. Uh, Jews lose power, but whites are a persecuted super minority, or B, whites are a super majority in Europe, but and America, but Jews will be prominent in academia and politics. So Baxter points out Ukraine was 99% white and only 0.5% Jewish in 2014 before the Ukraine war started. Despite being only 0.5% of the population, Jews formed a mafia that managed to take the entire country to war and got it destroyed. With Jews, you lose always. Interesting notion. I'm not saying that's the case. Not not necessarily always, but yeah, interesting point. And well, that's more than 15 hours ago. Alexander Dugin, so-called Russian philosopher, spammed on X calling for the destruction of the entire white people. So he said, "You are not people. You are stupid slave of the Epstein's menu and cruel cannibal elites. You are eaten your brains. It is why you watch Euphoria, because all of you are perverts, disgusting civilization, no reason to exist. Please die." Okay, that's a bit harsh. The West is totally in fall, collapse, still pretends to be a hegemon. Ridiculous. It's a vanishing entity. It should be destroyed. There is no reason for this trash to exist. Whites have installed the liberalism and the capitalism worldwide among themselves. That was a suicidal invention, the worst perversion of the tradition. The fate of whites is sealed. Guénon was absolutely right. This is the end, my friends. Whites, they are destroyed. They are destroyed the world and themselves. To be white means to be a nihilist. It is self-hatred, race. It caused so many troubles to others, to itself. It lost the right to be something. No arguments to support their existence. So I don't know whether he's being like completely genuine that he has this seething hatred, or is he just trying to kick Europeans on the butt, because part of me agrees with him, because I am also disgusted with the state of Europe, and like it's not like it's suddenly things got bad, like with 9/11 and everything, and how the freedoms in the West started to be slowly eroded, but most Europeans were just happy to fiddle and stuff, and not do anything. Just went along with Bush's crusade, quote unquote, and so yeah, I can't say he's completely off marker, but of course, it's a bit like. So is he saying that Russia is gonna be the, I don't know, new superpower with enlightenment and philosophy and science and stuff? Yes, but like, but partially, like I agree with the methods he's using. He's insulting Europeans. I agree with that completely. Europeans should be insulted, and that's one of the, like, within the right wing, quote unquote, that I've noticed that they're really thin-skinned when it comes to insulting their races or nations and stuff. But like, you allowed this to happen. You should be ashamed. But instead of saying like no, like especially like also in Americans, like you insult Americans for something that's obviously wrong with America. Well, no, you Europeans, you have this and that bad, and it's like, sure, but that doesn't dispute that what I said about your nation is wrong. So yeah, instead of complaining to Dugin, let's prove him wrong. That would be like the practical response to it. Like, of course, you cannot prove him wrong in a couple of weeks. It's gonna take a few years, but let's prove him wrong before he dies. I think that would be because right now you can't really say that he's wrong about being stupid slaves on the Epstein's menu of cruel cannibal elites. Like, is he wrong? But of course, it can change. Benjamin Netanyahu claims social media is fueling declining support for Israel and says there's too much freedom for people to say whatever they want. Oh no, my freedoms equal anti-Semitism, which basically true. Joe Rogan, Nixon had apparently been saying he knew who killed JFK and why, then everything came down on him. So they took out Nixon because he was literally purging Jews from the government. Jews are all through the government, and we have to get rid of them. It appears Joe Rogan forgot to mention this part. Yeah, so I guess that's why he was framed to be a crook. I've talked about Nixon before, and Nixon was before my time as well. But it's good to know history. And Tyler Olivier was spotted on an EIAI flight to Israel tonight. What the hell is going on? And other news said that he was rejected from arriving in Israel, and he's the guy who made like the video exposing some Jewish community in New Jersey that they don't have to work and they just get taxpayer money and stuff. And of course now people are suggesting, like, assuming this, like, it just shows, I can't even say for 100% sure it's him, but let's assume he's on the airplane, doesn't mean he's going to Israel. And well, supposedly went there to make a documentary, but like, uh, if I was him, would you feel safe going to Israel after, clearly they don't like that? That's a bit sus, but of course, I don't know, like the information from Parody Jeff isn't the most reliable either. But I saw somebody else mention about this too, so I don't know what's going on. But let's move on to the last section, to the um, gaming and entertainment and IT crap. Guess let's just take these files or these tabs, open them. A few dozen of these tabs, I guess. Just wait a moment, have to open all the tabs and load them. All right, I guess that's open. So Anita Sarkeesian is listed as a consultant for Slate Spire 2. Why? To make sure the dragon cards didn't have too much toxic masculinity. So yeah, Anita Sarkeesian. Of course, she's one of the most notorious people from 10 years ago. Gamergate, no, it's fucking 12 years ago already. It was in 2014. Damn, I feel so old. And no, I wasn't a Gamergater. I had like a faint idea what was going on back then with that stuff, but I really looked into it like maybe a year after it was finished. So Slay the Spires 2 is facing backlash after players discovered Anita Sarkeesian listed as a consultant in the credits. Gamers are leaving negative Steam reviews, saying they regret buying the game and would not have purchased if they knew. Some are requesting refunds while it's still in early access. So I think that's good. Yeah, that's it's the principle. Like, even if you like the game, and personally, I haven't played Slay the Spires 2, but I played the first one and I thought it was okay, but overrated. It wasn't great at all. Like, it was fun for a few hours, but not. It was entertaining for a few hours, not really that fun even. Slay the Spire 2 sold 3 million copies in 1 week. It's now at mostly negative recent reviews and dropping from 574k to 189k concurrent players. Two mistakes, balance issues, and players disapproving its association with Anita Sarkeesian. Mismanagement squandered a clear W. So yeah, the balance issues. I heard that supposedly Chinese especially dislike the balance issues, whatever they are. I don't know. But But yeah, I think a lot of people simply because of Sarkeesian, I applaud that. It's the principle of the matter. I feel dirty having bought this. Steam judges are destroying Slay Spire 2 in the Steam reviews for involvement of the original woke grifter Anita Sarkeesian. Love to see it. Game was quite good to kill some time, but the studio seems to align itself with people that are destroying the industry. Do not support them. Devolver hired Anita Sarkeesian to consult on its radical leftist feminist who hated games, hates gamers, and pursued political activism to have both censored. Hard pass. Yeah, I'm not going to read all of those, but you can probably go to Steam and read them if they're still up. Um, see. I already disliked Devolver when they weren't cool about my copy paste, and now they're saying they're working with Sarkeesian. I'm vindicated. So Devolver Digital said Anita's work has been essential part of the Devolver production workflow for a long time now. So I'm not sure if Devolver is like the publisher of Slay the Spire 2 or not, or is this like separate but related issue. Whether it's a quick sense check for a full consultancy gig, our teams have always benefited hugely for collaborating with Anita and her group. She's at the forefront of promoting diversity and inclusivity within our industry, and for that reason, she's a vital part of the work that we do. Especially like, yeah, like you could maybe you could make the argument like, let's say a developer uh, who was notoriously woke on Twitter or something was part of the Slay the Spire team. Maybe you could say like, okay, but he made a good game, so let him cook or whatever. But like, Anita Sarkeesian, she's not a graphic artist, she's not a programmer or anything like that. Like the only reason she would be part of um, part of the Slay the Spire's team is so that it doesn't pander to the male gaze or anything like that. All right, then we go to Metaphor. So Atlas admits Metaphor ReFantasio fell short of sales expectations, blames rival titles in the same genre, pricing and definitive editions. Uh, Gerald of Gunia says Persona without the best parts literally has tolerance as a stat, deliberately unsexualized female characters, wokeness galore. Gee, I wonder why Metaphor Fantasy flopped. I wouldn't be surprised if it came out this game was subsidized by BlackRock. So yeah, now I feel lucky I didn't play it because when it came out and people were saying it's good, it's like, oh, maybe I should try it. But oh yeah, I remember this assless woman. Yeah, that's something people talk. I'd forgotten, but yeah. Understanding different cultures and points of view might improve my tolerance. But that's funny because the tolerance is seen as a virtue, but it's like, tolerance, like the actual meaning of tolerance is to tolerate something that is harmful to you, like lactose intolerance. Like, I'm tolerant to lactose, but many people across the world are intolerant to lactose. That's because lactose, I guess, is a harmful substance to the majority of humanity. So, you're supposed, it teaches you that, these different cultures are a bad thing because you have to tolerate them. Or like, tolerate cold or something. So yeah, we should get a non-problematic, adult-centered Persona game with no icky dating. Game comes out, no one buys it. Well, some people bought it, but I guess not that many. All right, let's go to Windrose. The pirate survival game Windrose had a serious hidden problem. It was killing your SSD without you knowing. Normal gameplay, like walking around your base, caused it to write up to 108 gigabytes of your data to your SSD every hour. This stemmed from an inefficient save system using RocksDB that created too many small files and constant disk activity, which could shorten SSD's life over time. Players and YouTubers reported the issue, and dev Kraken Express quickly fixed it with a patch that cuts disk writes by 60 to 75% and stops unnecessary CPU spikes. Okay, that sounds bad. Like, what if it actually, well, is it just like if you delete it, your SSD will be 5, or like, because it uses the term killing your SSD, or does it mean that, it's just hindering its functioning, but if you delete it, or will it actually cause like physical harm to your SSD? Uh, See, that's another good reason to wait. I usually wait at least a couple of years before trying a game when after it comes out. So these sort of bugs are um, fixed. Okay, Ian McKellen says Obi-Wan Kenobi actor Alec Guinness told him to stay quiet on the gay rights because it's unseemly for an actor to dabble in political affairs. Based, like Alec Guinness recognized, like, what the Romans knew, that the actors are basically prostitutes or on the same level of societal trustworthiness. And since Ian McKellen is mentioned, like I've never liked him as Gandalf in the Lord of the Rings movies. He wasn't terrible, but especially after I heard that Sean Connery was offered the role, I would have preferred Sean Connery or somebody else as Gandalf. And it's not simply because he's gay, but certainly like Tolkien wouldn't have uh, condoned of him being Gandalf simply because of that. But of course, Tolkien probably wouldn't have condoned of anybody being Gandalf because he was very strict about those things. Was this? I need to rant for a second. Randy recently released a game called Terra Factor. Five, four, seven, 3 out of 5. Damn. 3 out of 5 negative reviews are upset because AI was used to assist with programming. None of them mention anything about gameplay. People who leave reviews like this are sad and pathetic. So the game is made with AI and is not disclosed by the developer. Get about 2 hours in and the game will devolve totally into AI generated gibberish. Have also reported to Steam for failing to disclose AI. Avoid. So I'm like, sort of 50-50 on this. Like, first of all, I do think that people have the right to dislike anything made with AI, although personally, I would differentiate between how much of it is used with AI. Like, is it just some graphical assets or some basic coding or something, or like to what extent, or is it most of the game is made with AI and so forth? And also, is it good AI? Like, if you use AI and it's a great game, it's hard to complain at that point, but like if it's garbage, then it's, yeah, obviously. Like the Romanian guy V, he makes the argument that it's like vegans, like even it doesn't matter whether you know they don't want to eat meat, doesn't matter how tasty the meat is. If food has meat in it, they're vegan, so they won't touch it. So in that sense, yeah, it should be disclosed if it's AI, but it's like there are still degrees to it. I guess it would be, yeah, it's not nice to know, like if they failed to disclose that there was AI and they actually used it, then I sort of understand. But on the other hand, a lot of these people are really obnoxious. Like it's basically uh, there's the kind of people who like an asteroid is gonna crash on Earth and destroy most of life on Earth, but like the AI could save us by, I don't know, making some calculations so we can build a rocket to propel the asteroid away. And like, but it's like no, we can't use AI never. So let's just take the asteroid instead. Like for myself, I only use AI for crap like this, or damn it, like this, or thumbnail pictures. And occasionally, like my YouTube, when I upload videos there later, like I use AI thumbnails, and I don't get many comments usually, but some of the comments I get is somebody basically complaining that I'm using AI thumbnail, and I'm basically doing because it's fun. I like playing around with generating pictures with AI, and that gives me an excuse to do it. It's like if people want to tune out simply because of that, but like, hey, I'm not AI. You're not listening to AI talk. I'm an actual flesh and blood human being. But whatever, let's move on. Google has a new system called Cloud Fraud Defense, which is the next version of reCAPTCHA and has started rolling out to users. When the system detects risky web activity, it no longer shows the old picture puzzles where you pick out buses or traffic lights. Instead, it it displays a QR code that you can scan with your Android phone, but to pass the test, your phone must have Google Play services installed and running. Okay, that seems horrible. Like, so you're not a human being unless you have phones. Is it that the Blizzard guy behind it? Like, don't you have phones? The result is that millions of websites now treat these privacy phones as risky, so users must either add Google Play services or stay locked out. This is similar to Google 2023 Web Environment Integrity idea that wanted websites to check if devices were trustworthy to Google software. That plan received heavy criticism from developers and privacy groups and was dropped, but the new QR code method does something very similar in a simpler way. Website owners who use the system are now blocking people who chose to remove Google from their phones for better privacy. Can't we like make a online environment without Google? Like, can't we just, shut out Google entirely and use internet that way? Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick has admitted that the company got it wrong with Civilization 7. The game had a lot of problems at launch. In recent interview, Zelnick took full responsibility, stating, "We got it wrong with Civilization 7, but it wasn't for want of trying, and again, I take responsibility for it." He explained that the changes proved to be bridged too far from the consumer's perspective. A major update will overhaul one of the game's most controversial features was announced. But still, it was woke as well, like this Harriet Tubman and Tub Girl and I don't know what else. So are they going to fix that as well? And Civilization 7 is set for a major update that finally lets players stay as one Civ throughout all the ages. As the boss of the parent company Take-Two has admitted, we got it wrong. So yeah, the basic retarded idea from Humankind that was a horrible game is, yeah, they stole the idea that it was bad and didn't work, and they're going back to how it should be. What a shocker. Like, I think somewhere it mentioned they're trying to like still get that you get basically at the end of each era or something, you get some advancement. So I guess it's like even if you play 10 games with Rome, like you might develop in different directions depending on what you choose and options. So that sounds like, at least in theory, like a good idea, but still. Well, I think I said when this game came out that, yeah, it looks like crap, but let's see after a couple of years. Because that I think like, Civilization 5, which is, I think, one of the best civilizations. Maybe Civilization 2 is still better, hard to say. But anyway, like, that wasn't so good when it came out, but with DLCs and patches and stuff, it became pretty good. Yeah, I don't like 6 or 4, but I haven't played 6 since it came out. I don't know if 6 is better now with new DLC and patches as well, but at least when it came out, it sucked. I didn't want to touch it. I still have some other articles here though, so let's open the tabs. Let's open the tabs and then get back to it. I just have to load them. All right, no, still loading. Okay. So Valve's upcoming game Deadlock has lost half its average players in the last 3 months. So I don't know how to feel about this. Like Deadlock, yeah, people mention it every few months. Like people have been playing it for almost a year or something, but it's still not out. So should I really care? Like I guess I'd be curious to try it, but it's also I don't care that much. Like I guess I could try to get the access key to it if I really cared that much, but not that much. So is it good? Is it terrible? Is it slop? Uh, ReZero season 4 episode 6 spoiler warning. Okay, I'm not gonna read all of that, but I guess there's a little bit of spoiler here. But crazy censorship news. For the last few weeks, people have been begging for the censorship of ReZero because of an infamous scene coming up. However, thanks to early information, it will be completely uncensored. The worst people you know are upset that the fictional scene where Emilia gets molested by Reed is uncensored. Happy White Fox staff aren't cowards and are willing to put everything in despite people screeching it's too dark. Showcases they will keep everything intact and won't bow down to the demands of those wanting censorship of anime. It's especially rare to see nowadays too, because of a lot of anime are definitely getting censored on the production stage by bad actors. So that's great news if it's not censored. Even though, like, I like the first season of ReZero quite a lot, but the last couple of seasons haven't been that good. Like, the last season was better than the one before that, I think. But in principle, that's good if there's no censorship, if that's true. Anime Kai, a popular anime streaming site, is shutting down. The developer has stated that the fire at their data center has made it impossible to continue providing file hosting services. The site was known among fans for convenient features such as AirPlay support with hard subtitles. And here's a picture. So, sorry, our data center has been burned. We are no longer able to provide the file hosting service. And actually, I was using this site. Like, yeah, one day I watched some anime on it. Next day I tried to watch it. I got this message too. And it's like, I didn't take it literally. I thought it's like, okay, there's something wrong with the data center. But it's like, no, I guess it's literally there's been a fire there. And of course, some people are speculating whether it's accidental or not, and because a lot of anime sites have been closing down recently, so perhaps they couldn't use legal bullshittery to close down the website, so they had to resort to arson. Possible. Steins Gate reboot developers Mages have announced a full ban on streaming live commentary and uploading gameplay footage. Due to the game's narrative-driven nature and major plot twist, the company is not granting permissions for public broadcast or video sharing. Console sharing and in-game capture tools are permitted only for private personal use. Anything visible to an unspecified number of people is prohibited. The remake has better graphics, new voice acting, a new ending, and other updates. So I'm keeping the original 2009 story, and it launches in Japan August 20th, 2026, with a Western release planned for 2026. This follows the same rules as previous Steins Gate games, where some fans support it to avoid spoilers, while others worry it could hurt the remake's visibility. I say it is absolute bullshit. I hope some people will stream it anyways, and I hope this game fails. Like, first of all, why does a visual novel that's only 15 years old or bit over 15 years old, why does it need a remake? Uh, and like, I don't get it. Like, how can game companies have rights to shut down you from streaming a game? It's like, if I buy Nike sneakers and then want to make a YouTube video of me running with them, like, look at my new Nike sneakers. Like, can Nike shut down my video for copyright reasons? And some people pointed out, like, well, this views, stream a movie or something, but that's different. That's a movie. But this transformative. Like, if I stream a game, it's still different to PewDiePie streaming the game, or whatever Melanie Mac. I don't know whether she streams, but for whatever reason, her name popped into my head. So yeah, I hope this game fails just because of that. I fucking hate this sort of like, what right do they have? Like, whether they have legal right, I don't know, but I know that Nintendo claims that they have that, like, de facto right they might have, but not moral right certainly. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Code Vein 2 Deluxe Edition for $8.99 on Humble, so 90% off. So fucking insane how hard they fumbled this game only because they just had to censor it and hire Western localizers, and by effect alienated 90% of their audience, 90% of sales from 4 months after release, 100% deserved. Yeah, like they censored her panties and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Completely deserved. And also, it has de novo. Warner Bros. Has quietly added de novo anti-tamper DRM to the PC version of Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. They added it to the game's Steam store page just days before its scheduled release. Remember that de novo's anti-piracy software designed to protect the games? I thought developers would stop adding this to the game since all games can be bypassed. I think it's some sort of mafia business going on with Denuvo or something. Like either they threaten that you have to use Denuvo or else, or that somebody's paying them to use Denuvo or something like that. Snowbreak Containment Zone is getting review bombed on Steam after it returned to service today following 2 months of downtime. I didn't know it was down. The game has been heavily censored, with changes applied to character outfits, models, splash arts, and interactive scenes. Many previously available skins and designs have been significantly altered and animations removed. Recent Steam reviews are now overwhelmingly negative. If they don't fix this, the game is finished. Yeah, let it burn. Okay, here we see some, like, yeah, lots of censorship. Just disgusting. Like, if you don't like to look at anime titties or whatever, then don't play the game. But it's like censorship offends me. It's a violation of the holy, uh, I don't know, holy rights of hentai, whatever. Hideki Kamiya, the creator and director of Bayonetta video game series, recently replied to a user on X. The fan described Bayonetta as an absolute LGBTQ icon and criticized Bayonetta 3 for trashing the legacy of the games and asked for Kamiya to return. Kamiya quoted the user post and responded, "Idiot, disappear." So it's like, "Baka, quiero." I haven't played Bayonetta, don't really care about those games that much. Because like when it came out, was it like on Wii U or something? And nobody has a Wii U. I think some of them are on PC right now, but who cares? But you know that response is based. This indie studio is developing a World War One trench warfare colony simulator. Dig trenches that shape the map, manage morale, food fatigue, time, artillery, send runners, order assaults. Is called Dig In. Would you play it? You know the idea is intriguing. I don't know whether the gameplay will be good, but at least the idea is pretty nice. But like unique idea. But that's the last news story of the week. So yeah, uh, let's see if we're gonna see those cat girl aliens descend on Earth once again if we are worthy. But with that, I'm Adventure Argonaut. I thank you for watching. Bye bye.